This solution provides a couple of new tools for working with Einstein Next Best Action. It provides an open source compact recommendation component that delivers some new capabilities for displaying recommendations on the page or in flows. It also delivers a flow action that executes next best action strategies, returning them in a data structure that you can then use declaratively to work with in flow. You can see here that I'm on an account page and I have a Get Recommendations button, and when I click on that, it's going to show me some recommendations. Now what it's doing is it's actually running a lightning flow. That flow is bringing up a flow screen, and that flow screen is hosting this compact NBA recommendation component. You can see that the emphasis has been placed on using as little real estate as possible, and one of the things that this component does is it allows more than 3 or 4 recommendations to be stored. So in this case, if we go to the next page, you can see that there are actually 5 recommendations here. Kale is here on page 2. Now notice that when I accept the chocolate recommendation, it launches the flow in a new tab. And then when I go back here, chocolate is gone and kale has moved up, sliding into position. Let's take a look at the underlying flow. Here's the screen that we were just looking at. You can see that it's called Display NBA Recommendations FSC. That stands for Flow Screen Component. And you can see here a number of attributes that you can pass in, very similar to how you use the standard Next Best Action component. You can specify whether you want the description to be displayed. You can specify the max number of recommendations. You can specify how you're going to pass in a context record ID and what the strategy name is going to be. So you have a lot of choices here. Now where are the recommendations going to come from? They're going to come from this action. This is a flow action, and you can see that here it doesn't require much information. It basically just wants the current record ID, the max number of results, and the name of the strategy. So whenever we run this flow, it's going to go and deliver a set of recommendations. It outputs those recommendations in a data structure called recommendation response data. That actually is an apex defined type, and if we go here, you can see that it's an apex defined variable, and it uses an apex class NBA recommendations list. Now you don't need to know what any of that stuff that I just talked about means unless you want to get deeper into working with the data that comes back from this flow action, because you can take this NBA recommendation list and you can use the power of apex defined types in flow to do things like loop through the recommendations in flow and do further processing on them. Just for fun, let's take this same flow and let's put it in the form of an embedded component. So we'll simply take flow and we'll drag it here. And we'll drag it here. We've got it set to the correct flow. We're passing in the record ID. We've got our checkbox checked. And you can see here that we have got a highly compact version of our Next Best Action solution available here for experimentation.